In this video, we're going to talk about some important Bitcoin concepts, but we're going to be using mempool.space, which is a very popular tool in the Bitcoin ecosystem. We're going to go over things like the mempool, so we're going to explain that to you, even if you're a beginner, as well as some other things like a basic overview of the difficulty adjustment and some other things you might find here. So anyways, let's get into it. Mempool.space is a free and open source project that you can check out the source code here on their GitHub, and you could actually run your own instance of this totally for free on your own hardware if you wanted to, but that's out of the scope of this video. You can also just go to mempool.space to use their, the remote instance supplied by the project themselves. So the first things to look at here is at the top of your screen here, you have the Bitcoin blockchain, and we just saw a block just got mined by the Binance pool. So you can see the block numbers here, and underneath them is all the blocks that got mined. And you can go all the way back in time as far as you want, all the way back to the Genesis block. But in each block, you can see all the transactions that were in it, and you can also see how long ago it was mined. You can notice that on average, it takes about 10 minutes for each block to get mined, and that's a feature of the Bitcoin difficulty adjustment. So that takes us into our first metric here, the Bitcoin difficulty adjustment. To enforce this, or to basically make sure that each block comes in every 10 minutes after one another, you have to adjust the mining difficulty, and that gets adjusted roughly every 2 weeks. And that's all this chart is. It's just telling you when the next difficulty adjustment is and what happened in the last adjustment. So that's all this metric is. You can change it to the halving, which is probably something you've heard of by now. It's the Bitcoin halving date. So every what is it, 100 and or every 210,000 blocks, I think it is, the Bitcoin the Bitcoin reward gets cut in half, and that's what this is telling you here. It's just giving you an estimation of when that's going to happen again. One of the most important features of mempool.space is the transaction fee section. So when you're making a transaction in Sparrow, it's really good to have mempool open on the side so you can get a good estimation of the fee you should be paying. That way you can make it into the next block without overpaying and without waiting too long and underpaying. And that's what the mempool goggles is here. Mempool goggles is just an estimation of transactions that are waiting to get mined into a block. So this is the perfect segue into what is the mempool. So the mempool in Bitcoin is like a waiting room. It's where your transactions go when they're waiting to be picked up to be mined into the next block. So let's say this. Let's say that you're at home and you broadcast a Bitcoin transaction. Your node is going to pick it up and he's going to put it inside of his mempool. And then he's going to share this information with his peers, with other Bitcoin nodes in the network. Some of those Bitcoin nodes are miners, and they're going to see the fee that you attach to your transaction. And if it's a lucrative transaction, right, if the fee is higher than what the market is paying, they're going to pick you up and they're going to put you in the next block because they get paid directly based on the fee that you attach to your transactions. So a miner is incentivized to include transactions that have higher fees attached. I break this down in another video, but we can also check it out here in this quick slide I just made here. So transaction fees, they're determined by the size of the transaction here. And the size of this transaction is determined by the number of inputs here on the left side and the number of outputs coming out here on the right side. So the more inputs and the more outputs, the higher your transaction size in virtual bytes is. And the higher your transaction is in virtual bytes, the higher your fee. The transaction fee is directly correlated to the size of the transaction in bytes and the current fee rate, which is visible on mempool.space. You can notice how the units work out. So if you have virtual bytes times sats over virtual bytes, the denominator crosses out with this virtual bytes here, and you're left with the fee in sats. So that's how the math works out. This is a very generic overview of how transactions work, but it provides a really good understanding of how fees are calculated. You can scroll down here lower and you can see all the transactions that are happening very recently. This guy is a whale here, moving $4 million. That's crazy. But here on the left side, you have RBFs, or replacement transactions. These are transactions where, let's say you broadcast a transaction into the mempool, but like you put a fee of like 2 sats, so you're waiting in a very low priority, and you're probably not going to be in any of the next blocks. A replaced by fee transaction is basically you rebroadcasting the same transaction, but you're upping your fee. That way you're incentivizing a miner to pick you up sooner and put you into a block. So another thing that makes this website very popular is transaction hash analyzing. So let's say that you withdraw some Bitcoin from Coinbase and you know the address that you sent to Coinbase. You say, hey, Coinbase, I want you to send Bitcoin to this address. And now you've been waiting for 5 minutes. You're curious where it's at. What you can do is you can take your address and you can paste it here into the top right section and search it. And you can visualize it here. You can see what this address did. So this address was used a long time ago. You can see that it has 15,000 transactions, or excuse me, it has 15,000 confirmations on it. That basically means that 15,000 blocks, let me go back one screen, 15,000 blocks were built on top of my transactions. So I'm like way back there somewhere. I'm like on what, 855 or 856 maybe, the block number. So that was a long time ago. And if I go back to that page, you can see that I'm still sitting on this Bitcoin. I haven't moved it. And you can see the transaction that paid me this Bitcoin. It was a Coinbase withdrawal transaction. So what Coinbase does is they gather a bunch of users that want to withdraw Bitcoin, and they make one big transaction. That way they could save on fees. So Coinbase paid $1 to make this entire transaction, which is really cheap. They only paid 3.14 sats per VByte. Let's say that you withdraw your Bitcoin from Coinbase and you just have a transaction hash. You could paste your transaction hash in here too, and you can go out and you can see the same thing. So you can see actually the block that this transaction occurred in. This is the same transaction that I just showed, but I'm picking out the hash now. And you can see a more streamlined overview here. You can see the fee cleanly outlined, the fee rate cleanly outlined, see who mined it. You can see everything that's in here. You see you have one input and a bunch of outputs. So I'm in one of these outputs somewhere. You could scroll down. You could probably find me. I think this is me. 6QDWS. Yeah, that is me. You scroll down, you can see this. If I click my address, we'll see that same screen that we were just at earlier. So mempool.space is very good for transaction monitoring and just checking these things out. So I'm going to keep this video short and sweet. It's been a week since I last uploaded a video, but that's how I use mempool.space. It's a very simple tool. It can be as complicated as you want it to be. You can come out here, you can check out the test nets if you want. You could check out other metrics like mining metrics and all these other crazy things that are kind of just out of the scope of this video. I never use those. As a Bitcoin user, how I use this mainly is I come out here, I use transaction fees to set my transactions, and I will basically monitor when these blocks are coming in. So that's pretty much how I use mempool.space. I don't want to overcomplicate it. But yeah, I hope this video made sense to you. I'm going to try to get another video out in the next couple days. I've kind of been slacking, but we're going to try to change that around. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the new intro, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.